Browns 27-14 losers here in Pittsburgh, their 10th loss of the season. We will get to that. But let's start with the quarterback position. Mary Kay, Kevin Stefanski wouldn't just outright commit to Jameis Winston starting the remainder of the season, left the door open, kind of in a Kevin Stefanski way of doing things. So what do you expect to happen here with the Browns quarterback position?
You know, I actually do expect them to stick with Jameis Winston heading into next week's game. The Super Bowl defending champion Chiefs are coming to town. I don't think that's the right atmosphere in which to throw your second-year quarterback in there. He hasn't been playing. The guys are not warmed up to him. Remember, it was just last week that Jameis Winston threw for a club record 497 yards. Jerry Jeudy had 235. So I still think that it's the right thing to do to stick with Jameis Winston. I think there will be time if they need it. If they really want to take a look at DTR, and who knows, maybe even Bailey Zappi a little bit at some point, there will be opportunities to do that in the last couple games of the season. At least for right now, I think it's still Jameis Winston, even though he's thrown 5 interceptions over the last 2 games.
Yeah, Kansas City, a very good defense. And, of course, you want to at least have Jameis Winston probably playing in that game. Ashley, he gave you 4 today, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. This, again, as we've talked about over and over again, is just sort of life with Jameis Winston.
Yeah, 4 is the magic number. You never know the ratio of interceptions to touchdowns sometimes, but you're going to see him get 4 most games. Prime example of that being today. And I agree with Mary Kay's take on this. I think I said a couple weeks ago, if I had to pick, if you want to give DTR a chance to start, I think it might not be a horrible idea to let him do so against the Bengals, who are obviously also struggling, get him in a road atmosphere, have some time to prep and plan for him. I don't think doing it against the Chiefs is smart. I also wondered if maybe this is a little effort at some gamesmanship from Kevin Stefanski. I don't know, keep Andy Reid on his toes a little bit and everyone in Kansas City. Maybe you won't face Jameis Winston. Don't count on that, but I don't know. I don't know if it was, but it was just a thought.
The gamesmanship never ends, even when you have 10 losses. Now, another guy who potentially you would think could be on the hot seat, but Kevin Stefanski stood behind him again today, is Dustin Hopkins. Missed 2 more kicks, 1 to the left, 1 to the right. They were costly kicks in a game where the Browns could have double dipped at the end of the half. They could have come away with points on a drive to start the second half when they got a big kick return and got a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty on the Steelers. But Mary Kay, instead, Dustin Hopkins continuing his struggles. Kevin Stefanski at least saying that the Browns are going to stick with Dustin.
Yes, he did say that. And Dustin, believe it or not, still says he feels good out there. He feels at peace. But obviously, in my opinion, I'm sure in the opinion of everyone else, the wind went out of the sails for the Cleveland Browns after he missed those 2 back-to-back kicks in crucial situations with the game very close. They could have pulled to 13-10 and then maybe even tied the game. So absolutely, this is a huge, huge issue for the Browns, not just for the rest of this year, but for going forward. They gave him an extension. They're kind of stuck with him to a certain extent, and they're going to have to get this figured out. They might have to bring in competition next year at the kicker spot or just start all over. But certainly they cannot go on like this. He is now 16 of 25 on kicks, and that's less than 66%.
Yeah, the Browns just out here trying to prove that you can never have too much dead money. Ashley, I know you wrote a little bit about Dustin Hopkins' extension in your Zero Gamer.
Yeah, I did. And, you know, these numbers are certainly an outlier for him in his career, but also really last year was a positive outlier for him in his career. By far his best overall numbers, by far his best numbers from 50 plus when he was that perfect 8 for 8. And in my Zero story, which I mentioned, it's important to remember the Browns had him under contract this year. And obviously he was very appreciative of that 3-year extension they gave him. But they kind of jumped really early on it, which you understand. A guy has a good performance, a good year. You want to reward him. But it was still, I think, maybe a bit too early, given the small sample size, given the rest of his career. And now looking at the numbers, you look at his dead cap hit. If he were to be cut before June 1st, it would still be, I think, over like $5 million or some dollars, and then over $3 million if it's a post-June 1st designation. So again, we know this team is going to have a lot to figure out with their dead cap, and it's not getting any better for them, so this certainly will hurt them potentially too.
Okay, we knew this was the case before today, obviously. But today, Mary Kay, I missed an opportunity because today was actually really, for real, a must-win for the Cleveland Browns. They lost. They are officially out of the playoffs, officially have those little letters next to their name in the standings. They are 3-10, a double-digit loss season, and missing the playoffs for the third time in 5 years since Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski came in.
Yes, and you guys know, I am a must-win purist, and I hate the overuse of that phrase unless you're really facing elimination from playoff contention or from the playoffs themselves. So this was a must-win game if they wanted to keep those playoff hopes alive at all. They are now eliminated, and it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad to see a team that was supposed to go deep into the playoffs now with double-digit losses for the second time in the Kevin Stefanski era. And it's just really, really unfortunate because that number is going to grow. They're not going to win their last 4 games. And so this is going to be the most losses that they've had in a number of years. And I find that to be really sad for Browns fans who were so excited about this season.
And for it to happen now, I mean, there's still 4 games left. It's December 8th today. For this team to be eliminated from the playoffs on December 8th, that means you are near the bottom of the NFL standings, and that's where they've been all year. And it's just in a year when I think a lot of fans had high hopes. Ashley, I know we thought this roster maybe had a chance to go deep into the postseason or at least get to the postseason. To be eliminated already on December 8th is just incredibly disappointing.
Yeah, this is my 4th year covering this team, my 3rd year where they haven't made the playoffs, and this is by far the earliest they have been eliminated. But as you guys have been talking about, as I know just from being a fan of this team before I covered this team growing up, so many Brown seasons have ended here in Pittsburgh. So it's kind of sadly poetic in a way that, again, we're having another season end essentially here with a loss to the Steelers. But again, their struggles here over the years have been no joke. And I think, again, it's just an example of AFC North football really forcing this team, for better and worse, to look in the mirror at itself and figure out some of its big problems.
Okay, well, whatever they decide, of course, we'll cover that. But for now, in the near term, we'll cover everything that happened here in Pittsburgh at cleveland.com/Browns.